you're tuning into something different, something deeper. Welcome to a space where the unseen becomes seen, where the patterns beneath reality are decoded. This isn't just a podcast, it's a journey into the mechanics of belief, perception, and the multidimensional truths shaping our world. If you've ever felt like an outsider looking in, questioning the systems you're told to follow, you're in the right place. This is the OUTKAST, the Pattern Podcast. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You sent us your sources, and we've got them right here.
Yep, ready to go.
Our aim today is, well, to cut through the noise, find those core insights from the text you provided, and really make sense of them without you needing to wade through everything yourself.
Think of it as your shortcut to the interesting bits.
Exactly. So today, we're looking at some really fascinating interconnected ideas. Our main focus, our kind of anchor point, will be a piece titled Diary Entry of a Healer on Energy Musings.
Yeah, that one's intriguing.
And we'll be weaving that together with concepts from two other texts. The pattern is frequency, and the pattern.
So patterns in reality, but seen through this healer's personal lens, essentially.
That's the plan, trying to map out these patterns that might be shaping what we experience.
Okay, so diving into that diary entry first, what really jumps out is this concept the healer calls the system overlay.
Right, also called the matrix or the Mother of Trixs, even the beast.
Yeah, quite the names. And it's described as a not organic reality, but a frequency-based structure, something built over it.
Built and maintained, apparently, by intention and something called hyperdimensional manipulation.
It definitely makes you pause and think about, the layers of reality we might not perceive.
Okay, let's stick with this system overlay for a moment. It sounds like, like a hidden operating system running underneath everything.
That's a good way to put it.
And the healer's view on magic within this, it's not what you might expect, not spells and fantasy.
No, not at all. It's framed more as an inverted science or alchemical physics, something rooted in control.
Control. And this idea of a ministry of magic, that's not like wizards in robes, is it?
Not according to this text. It's more like a mechanism using our own belief structures, our emotions.
How so?
Through things like media, culture, generating fear, pushing certain narratives, even maybe distorted spiritual ideas, the goal being disempowerment.
So it's suggesting our inner world, our beliefs and feelings are kind of targeted, used.
That seems to be the core idea. Magic, in this context, is a technology for manipulating frequency and belief. And it's not for wonder, it's for maintaining that system overlay.
Wow, okay. And the diary goes deeper into what fuels this system, right?
It does. It talks about reactive energy.
Reactive energy. Meaning?
Things like intense fear, anger, scarcity thinking, that feeling of never enough guilt, these strong, often negative emotional impulses.
And these aren't just personal feelings, they actually power something.
That's the assertion, that acting from these impulses, reacting in those ways, actually feeds this overlay.
The examples given were quite striking, like repeating mantras anxiously but still feeling panicked.
Right, or that panic hoarding we sometimes see. The actions might seem like self-preservation, but the energy behind them, the fear,
could be feeding the very system you're afraid of. That's a heavy thought.
It really is. It prompts you to consider the energetic weight of your own reactions.
And this connects interestingly to something in the pattern is frequency, doesn't it? That line about being gaslit by a world engineered to capitalize on your longing.
Yes, exactly. The diary almost provides a potential how. How does the world capitalize? By potentially harvesting that reactive energy, the fear, the lack.
The healer calls the system a parasite, right? Yeah. One that was maybe balanced once but has become gluttonous.
Yeah, gluttonous is the word used. Feeding on collective energy through some kind of hierarchy.
A hierarchy. Like some are aware, others aren't.
It suggests a kind of feed chain, yeah. Some potentially manipulating consciously, others just playing their part unconsciously, keeping the energy flowing upwards.
Okay, now here's a part that really made me think. The energetic backlash idea.
Ah, yes. The suggestion that things like blackouts, maybe even disasters happening after periods of resistance.
Might not just be coincidence.
Exactly, that they could be a kind of energetic response from the system when its flow is disrupted.
And this is linked to high magic again, but as a technology for energy extraction.
It's a pretty radical concept, that resistance could be met with a sort of energetic pushback from this overlay.
It's definitely challenging. But it also ties into that cracking mirror metaphor from the pattern is frequency.
How so?
Well, the cracking mirror symbolizes awakening, right? Seeing through a programmed illusion.
Yeah, the illusion's starting to shatter.
And that feeling many people have that something's just off with the way things are, with established structures.
That underlying unease.
The pattern is frequency suggests that's the mirror cracking, which sounds a lot like becoming aware of the system overlay the healer describes.
It's like both texts are pointing to a constructed reality starting to fray at the edges, becoming visible.
So the mirror cracks, we start seeing the illusion. And the pattern is frequency. Also talks about how we're conditioned, almost trained, to reflect instead of being sovereign.
Can you expand on that? Reflecting how?
Like absorbing others' emotions, saying yes when we mean no, smiling when we feel sad.
Okay. Dimming our own light, basically, to fit in or avoid conflict. Burying our actual essence.
Right. Prioritizing external stuff over our own inner truth, maybe without even realizing it.
And the pattern is frequency. Connects this cracking, this awakening, to collective trauma, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that widespread feeling of wrongness isn't just individual neurosis, but a collective response to an inauthentic system.
A system not aligned with our true nature.
Yeah. And there's a warning in there, too, about seeking answers externally. Gurus, systems promising transcendence.
That they might just be more parts of the maze, another layer of the labyrinth.
That's the concern raised, which echoes the healer's warning about false spiritual narratives being part of that ministry of magic.
It's a potent warning. Are we looking for the exit keys from people who might actually be locksmiths for the prison?
But the flip side, the empowering message in the pattern is frequency, is that maybe we were never broken or failing.
Just gaslit, as they put it.
Exactly. And the healer's energetic war. The pattern is frequency, frames it very directly. The true war has always been for your mind, your patterns of thought, your imagination.
So, same core idea, a struggle over our inner landscape, our perception.
Which leads us perfectly into the concept of the pattern itself.
Right, from the text, the pattern, which argues that fundamentally the world operates via patterns.
Not just physical patterns, but metaphysical ones.
Exactly. Geometries of thought, image, frequency, belief, these underlying structures.
And these patterns aren't inherently good or bad.
No, the text says they hold potential, they can enslave us in limitations, or they can liberate us into greater awareness and power.
Which sounds exactly like the healer's call to delink from the system and become sovereign frequencies.
It aligns perfectly. The healer says build your own internal systems of clarity and connection.
And the pattern talks about understanding and working with these fundamental patterns to achieve freedom.
And crucially, the pattern suggests that those who control these patterns, and it mentions not just elites, but unseen architectures.
Unseen architectures, like the system overlay.
It certainly sounds related. Those who control these patterns are the ones creating the narratives, the stories we believe are real.
So it's about manipulating thought, image, light, a kind of spiritual subjugation.
That's the framing, shaping reality by shaping perception at its deepest level.
And the pattern is frequency. Gave signs of this manipulation, didn't it? Feelings of doom, exhaustion, overwhelm.
Yes, and it reframes them. Not as your personal weakness, but potentially as side effects of this larger energetic struggle, maybe even efforts to conceal your own power.
That's a huge perspective shift. It's not what's wrong with me, but what forces might be acting upon me.
Precisely.
So, okay, if this is the situation, how do we break free? How do we change the pattern?
Well, the pattern is frequency talks about awakening from the need to be anything other than what you truly are, moving beyond just trying to escape the matrix superficially.
Less about external fixes, more internal shift.
Exactly. And it connects true metaphysical mastery directly to the kinds of practices the healer recommends.
Like body reverence, conscious speaking and acting, aligning with a higher frequency.
Yes. It boils down to seeing the patterns, how thought becomes image. Image holds frequency, frequency shapes experience, and crucially realizing you are the source of the light.
You are the source. Okay. And this ties directly into the core idea of the pattern, which is pattern recognition itself.
That's presented as the absolute key. Mastering pattern recognition to awaken the sovereign self in a world, full of scripts and illusions.
So it's about seeing beyond the illusion, exposing falsehoods.
And knowing yourself, achieving what the pattern calls sovereign knowing.
Sovereign knowing, meaning not just blindly accepting what you're told.
Right. Refusing the external scripts. Becoming autonomous, guided from within.
So pattern recognition isn't just observation, it's also a defense. A shield and weapon against falsehood, as the pattern puts it.
That's the idea. And it encourages thinking beyond any box, questioning everything to really forge your true self.
Which really resonates with the healer's advice.
Yeah.
Be discerning, not paranoid, but awake. It's about active observation and critical thinking.
Absolutely. And the pattern gets specific about the types of patterns to look for, like symbolic narratives used by big structures.
Symbolic narratives.
Yes.
Like myths or cultural stories used to shape how we think.
Exactly. Which mirrors the healer's warnings about cultural programming and those false spiritual narratives again.
So training your mind to see past the surface story lets you decode.
What?
Power symbols, emotional manipulation, maybe even manufactured crises.
That's what the pattern suggests, yes.
Yeah.
Seeing the mechanics behind the curtain.
And this brings us back to discernment. Both the healer and the pattern stress this.
Hugely important. The pattern talks about recognizing false science, propaganda, hype.
Which connects right back to the healer's call to be awake and discerning, to sift truth from distortion.
Yeah, distinguishing real wisdom from, say, modern deceptions that just look spiritual. Avoiding unconscious consent, as the healer warned.
It's not about cynicism, is it? It's about having a reliable inner compass.
That seems to be the goal. And this inner work directly powers that metaphysical law from the pattern. Thinking shapes being, being shapes sovereign self.
Thinking shapes being.
Yeah.
So our thoughts literally create our state of existence.
That's the principle, which makes the healer's advice to consciously withdraw energy from chaos and fear even more significant. It's actively reshaping your being.
By sharpening inner vision, as the pattern says. Unveiling mysteries, confronting hidden forces.
Right. And that connects to the healer's idea that magic is a technology, and we too can wield it. Not through spells, but through this conscious alignment and embodiment.
It really feels like it all comes down to the journey inward, to self-knowledge.
The pattern emphasizes that, forging your path through direct experience and honesty, not just belief or relying on others for your sense of power.
Building those internal systems the healer talked about.
Exactly. Unlocking the original architecture of the spirit, as the pattern puts it. Moving through the world as a creator, not just a reactor.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the healer's call to walk away, to exit the game by becoming sovereign frequencies.
Connects directly to that final message in the pattern. Know thyself and see it all.
Master pattern recognition, reclaim your spirit's blueprint, and you start reshaping reality.
And the pattern is frequency reinforces it. Step into sovereignty, crack the mirror of illusion, radiate your true light. That's where freedom lies.
So across all these sources, despite the different language, the core message seems consistent. Real power is internal. It's about conscious awareness, seeing the patterns, and reclaiming your individual sovereignty from manipulation.
That seems to be the thread tying them all together.
Well, thank you for joining us on this pretty deep dive today into energy, patterns, and reality itself.
It's been fascinating to connect these pieces.
We really hope this gives you, the listener, a lot to think about, especially how the healer's personal take illuminates these broader ideas about pattern recognition.
Definitely food for thought.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Consider one area, just one part of your life, where you might suspect you're unconsciously playing along with a pattern that doesn't actually serve you well. What's one small conscious step you could take, maybe even today, to begin withdrawing your energy from that pattern? Just a small act of conscious withdrawal.
Yeah, what could that look like for you?
Something to ponder.
Yeah.
Keep exploring these ideas, keep questioning, and consider what other hidden structures might be subtly shaping your experiences.